Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're checking out 3 knives from FERRAMONSTER. I've checked out this company in the past, and they've done some pretty good work. We're going to start it off with this one, which is the Spectrum. The Spectrum has a M390 coated blade. It looks like a DLC, but I do think it is a PVD. But it has this really nice satin on it that looks so good. Love it with since it's all black like this, and I believe this does come in a plain option too. But the handle is titanium contoured with this really nice micro milling that's very fine, but also has a nice tactile feel. Then we have a titanium milled pocket clip and backspacer, and the milled pocket clip is reversible, which is a good thing because these are ambidextrous knives, but also being inset, which is nice because if it's not and the titanium clip's just on the surface, it'll shift, right? Even with screws in it. So this makes it where there's no shift. It's very solid. The thumb studs have this nice little groove on both sides so you can easily get to it. Has nice resistance for the deployment. Nice sound. I love the sound of it. It's got this clackety sound that I personally like. There is a lot of milling in the inside, like heavy milling. This whole bottom part is just one giant big, milled out section. Then you have these little subtle liners right here so that, the bearings are riding on steel instead of titanium. And, that houses, the Omega springs and whatnot. Now, these are not adjustable, but it does have already a decent action, so I like seeing them be adjustable, but not that big of a deal. Now, the ergonomics, really well done, extremely comfortable. The size, great. Blade shape, great. Geometry, amazing. Great slicer. This is something that can compete with a lot of other, let's say, bug out Deca style knives. But here's the issue. I have one issue, and I'm trying to contemplate whether or not it is an issue or not on this particular model. So there's a stop pin right there, which hits directly behind the edge. Now, it's not so much that it's like one sharpening. You can see right that little shiny spot. That's where it's hitting. That's a decent amount of steel, and it is thicker right there. So, when you sharpen, you're going to get a smile because the plunge grind is not great, and they didn't put a good, choil / plunge grind on there. But regardless of that, the stop pin lands there where I need to be able to remove steel. So when I'm sharpening, steel gets removed from the edge, right? So the blade essentially just goes up higher and higher and higher, or the edge goes up higher and higher and higher with each sharpening. So that's in the way from me to remove that much steel. Now, it's a bit of steel, so a lot of people might not ever run into this issue unless if they chip their edge or something like that, because if you chip your edge, you got to remove the steel to get the chip out. So I personally think that you could possibly get your money out of it without ever running into an issue, but also you could run into that issue, right? You could. Like I said, if you chip your edge or if you just use it a lot and you're sharpening constantly, eventually that steel is going to be removed. Now, like I said, that's quite a bit of steel, right? Quite a bit. So you might probably have your money out of it by then, but that is my biggest issue on this knife. Other than that, I love that they use TA hardware all the way around. I love the action, ergos. The knife is awesome. Now, this next one is actually one that I do have another model of, and this one is the Aurora Rays, and it does come in different color options, and I really like this thing. It has a very addicting action, the flipper tab. If you're going to have one deployment, you better make it really good, and this one is very well done. The flipper tab's not uncomfortable, has perfect jimping on it. You can get a great snap out of it. Then they have a Harpoon M390 blade. You guys know I'm a sucker for harpoons. Hand satin finish. Beautiful satin finish. Beautiful blade, man. Titanium frame lock, titanium backspacer, and milled pocket clip. Milling on the inside to bring down the weight, and like the name would say, you got the rays, or it looks like a ray with the milling. Looks pretty cool. Yeah, M390 steel, good access to that lock bar, great access to that lock bar. Very smooth on the drop. Detent is nice and strong. You can hear it. So, you know, as far as action looks, man, this thing is awesome. Ergonomics are good. I'm not gonna say they're great, but they're good. They're like, I'm happy with it. I like that it tapers down, feels really good in the hand. You got a nice spot for your finger right there. I kind of land on that hump, but I also can make it where I don't, you know, if I just choke into that notch. If I needed to, I can choke over the flipper tab. So yeah, ergos are great. Geometry and blade is great. I can't tell you anything about the heat treatment yet, but the edge did come out really nice from the factory. They did a good job with that. My biggest complaint on this one right now is the damn pocket clip. There is just not enough room under there for thick jeans. Now with regular Levi jeans, it's fine. They'll slip in and out, but you have these sharp ridges right here. So your pants always hit this. It's just sharp. Like you can kind of see it's like chewing my finger up. It's since it's so sharp, they didn't chamfer the edges. If you're going to put it on the outside like this lock bar relief, chamfer the edges at least, but otherwise put it on the inside. Put it on the inside, then you never have no issues. Because when you have lock bar cutouts like this, the relief cuts like this leaves an area where when your pants are going over it, they catch. And especially when there's hardly any room underneath it. They made only just enough room for like regular Levi jeans, which are what most people carry, or at least the thickness of their pockets. But if you're gonna wear thicker jeans, it is not good. It doesn't, like it'll go mostly all the way in, but it'll basically get caught like right there. And then, you know, like I said, you catch on these. So my biggest issue with this is the clip. I don't like the clip. I think it's horrible. I think they should fix something, fix the clip basically. Make it taller, you know, make sure this is not, you know, right underneath it. I do like how they put like a little pad underneath it, you know. They did a lot of little things that are great. TA Hardware. All in all, man, I do really like this knife. And a lot of people are not going to have an issue with the clip unless you have thicker jeans. The last one now is another one. I had a different version of this. This is the Glideman, and it's in 154 cm. I love this blade shape. It's kind of like a, man, it's not a dowel. It's a sheep's foot. Let's just call it a sheep's foot, but I freaking love it. I think it looks aggressive. It looks cool. We have blue micarta. I think this is denim micarta. Am I right? No, blue canvas. Sorry. Blue canvas micarta and nice texturing. I like the micarta, good quality micarta. Has a real nice roughness to it. 154 cm, great steel, mid-grade steel. Right, it's literally just under like S35 VN. So almost the edge retention of S35 VN, but a little bit less. So if you would consider S35 the beginning steel of premium steels, this would be at the top of the mid-range steels right before premium. Wire clip works really well. It's nice and smooth, and like they all are, right? Wire clips are like some of the smoothest clips. They don't chew your pockets up. They work well. There's a lot of texturing on the micarta, so that you do feel that, but T8 Hardware all the way around. Again, I love that they do that. That's a huge thing to me. The action, super good. Great, comfortable flipper tab. Great amount of detent. Great amount of resistance. You can thumb and reverse flick this thing very easily. The design kind of reminds me of like a Ferrum Forge design. Ergonomics, when you choke up like this, super comfortable. Pinch grips, amazing. Choke back, I can get 4 fingers. It's a little tight, but I can get it on there. But this is the way I mostly hold it, or like this. And yeah, very comfortable. Good access to the lock bar, super smooth on the drop, you know, and it hasn't even completely broken in yet. Plunge grind and choil, you know, good. The plunge grind, you know, could be better, but it doesn't matter on this because you got the finger choil. So you have plenty of separation from the edge to the plunge grind. And, you know, all in all, you know, it's a compact knife. I would call it medium, right? It's not too small, but it's also not like, it's a schmedium knife, right? Basically a medium compact size knife, but feels like really good quality. Definitely a decent knife. And yeah, I like it a lot. I really honestly don't have much complaints on this one. I do want to bring up one last thing before we close the video out, and that's their prices. I do think that these are overpriced. Let me explain, because they're really good quality, but like a knife like this, right? They have a carbon fiber one, which I'm guessing with steel liners, it's even more expensive, which I don't understand that. Maybe it's titanium liners and I just don't know. But for around $280 for something like this, like the materials make sense and everything, but then you did the stop pin thing, which is not, you know, for that price, you shouldn't have that. I should be able to use this thing for which you can use it for a very long time. I don't want to make it seem like you can't, but I can see the end of the life. That's my point. I can see it. That's not good to me, especially for that price. The next thing is, you know, well, even like this one, right? For that price, the clip, like you can't charge that much and then have a bad clip. You just can't. And if you do, and if you can do it, good for you. But most companies are not going to be able to pull that off. This one was like 120 or something like that. And you're talking about 154 cm in micarta in steel liners. This is a 65, 75, maybe $80 knife. You know, you could maybe ask $90. But when you're talking about from a company who's relatively new, right? It's not like, I mean, at least I haven't, you know, heard of them for years and years, right? I've known of them since for like the past year, but you can't come in with no reputation and just demand high prices, right? You have to set up a line of where you showed and proved how your heat treatments are and things like that. Over time, the market will justify that, right? Based on your sales. So like this is a company that I don't think has been tested as far as steels go, edge retention, to see if their heat treatments are good, bad, or horrifying. We don't know. All right. So, and then to have these little tiny details makes it an issue, right? Because if you're going to demand that price, especially at such a young age of the company, well, then you better come correct, right? You got to come correct. You got to have every little thing in order, right? The other companies that are charging prices like this, it's because they've proven themselves. They've proven themselves over and over and over and over and over for years. So now they can demand that price because there's a demand for their knives. It's difficult if you're a company like this to get into people's pockets. And listen, I like the knives. I'm not knocking the knives. I'm just saying the price, being an early company, it's going to be difficult for you to get into people's pockets with this price. That's all I'm saying. You gotta have a lower price in order for people to say, I could justify buying that. Because here's my example, right? Let's say this. What is better about this than say, let's say Kaiser, KUBEY, or name Sencut, Civivi, right? Like where they're using micarta, 154 cm, or, you know, equal steels, same materials, but $50 less. Of course, you're going to pick one of them, right? Because you already know their reputation. You already know they do a good job with their steels. You know they do a good job with their action. You know they do a good job with their fit and finish and all this stuff. So, you know, like you got to look at it like that, right? You got to think about it from the buyer's point of view on how we are looking at it, right? How are we looking at it? Well, that's what we're doing. We're comparing you to other companies that would be equal quality, equal materials, equal, you know, across the board. So, and then, like I said, without getting into people's pockets, you're not going to be able to prove yourself over and over. And you have to take the criticisms from people like me or channels like me and fix them, right? You know, like this clip. I would think that would be really awesome if all of a sudden we seen, you know, pretty quickly, we seen them make a new clip or whatever, right? That would be awesome to see, because now you're building a reputation, right? Now you're building a reputation of caring about the product in people's hands. You know, like the stop pin placement, right? This is, and all companies have made this mistake. So I'm not just trying to put it on FERRAMONSTER. A lot of companies have made this mistake, but it feels like a slap in the face to knife guys, because we look at it like, do you not understand knives, right? Do you not understand that we have to sharpen these? right? So we have to be able to remove the steel from the edge. So it almost feels like you didn't care about the longevity of the knife. You didn't care about how the user was going to experience the knife. You cared about selling the knife, especially when you have a high price. So, and listen, like I said, I'm not knocking the knives. I'm just trying to give a perspective to the company to think about so that, you know, they can do better, right? Because the whole point is for them to sell knives, obviously. And I want them to make money. I want them to sell their knives. But this is how you sell more, right? This is how you'll actually sell a lot more knives, is by doing what I said. But anyways, there you guys go. Sorry for the ramble. Work hard, stay tough. Till next time, peace.